Have you ever just felt like you're kind of caught between multiple cultures and you're trying to figure out where exactly you fit into all of them? It's kind of like the story of my life, I feel like. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. This one I was kind of requested by a bunch of my friends actually back in Norway to talk about examples of reverse culture shock that I have experienced since being back in the United States now for around a week and a half. Now I've traveled quite a bit, but I've never experienced reverse culture shock as much as I have on this last trip, and I think that has to do with the fact that I've been living in Norway now since August. Now my examples of reverse culture shock seem to fall into two distinct categories. It seems like most of my interaction occurs in these two distinct categories, and that would fall into food and customer service. I kind of wonder what that says about me, but at the same time, maybe I don't really want to know. So my first example of reverse culture shock actually occurred the day I arrived back here. Me and my family went out to a Thai restaurant here in town, and of course because I was totally jet lagged and exhausted, I just kind of let them order what they wanted, and there were a bunch of other families sitting around. I wasn't really paying too much close attention until the food came. So when the food got put down, I started grabbing a few things that I wanted, and I looked around and I realized how quickly people eat in America. I'm not talking about quantities, which is a totally different issue on its own, but just the speed in which people would grab stuff, put it on their plate, and then proceed to shovel it into their mouths. Maybe it was because I was super jet lagged and tired that my pace of eating had slowed a bit, but I don't recall people eating that quickly and frantically in my time in Norway. I mean, I'm sure that could be taken as to a comment on how Americans eat too much food and they eat too quickly, and maybe that contributes to an obesity epidemic. It could be a comment on that, but I'm not seeing it from that perspective. I am just simply looking at the fact that people here eat incredibly quickly, and I don't understand how you can do that. I mean, you sit there, and if you're just shoveling food into your mouth, you're not enjoying it. So I was just kind of confused and just sitting back there just being like, what is happening? Maybe it was just the total days of being jet lagged, but that was like the first thing that hit me when I got back here was how quickly people eat. Now the second example of reverse culture shock is quantity, and I kind of already mentioned that in my last one about speed of people eating, but this one doesn't necessarily just fall into the notion of plate size. It also falls into the fact that there is just so much food here. Just the sheer selection and size of the grocery stores here is just, it hurts my mind to think of. I was in the grocery store the other day and I spent a solid 5 minutes in the cereal aisle. At my local grocery store in Norway, our cereal aisle is like one shelf. Just one shelf, that's all there is, and you have like 5 choices and that is it. So to be in an aisle where it was literally an entire aisle with like 5 shelves each of different cereal choices was just, oh my god, there's so much cereal. And of course, like I said before, plate sizes here are huge and the portions of food is massive. I went out for dinner the other night with my family, and of course we couldn't finish all of our food, so we got it to go, we took it home with us, and that is just like not a notion in Europe, at least in Norway. I have never been to a restaurant and they've given me, well, first enough food that I would have leftovers to take with me, but the notion of packing something up and taking it home with you to eat is just not a thing. There's a difference between takeaway and like eating in a cafe. Like that's one thing, like you have the takeout option, but if you were to sit in a restaurant and eat food and then take it away, I have never seen that done in Norway, so it was really odd to see it happening here, even though I know it's a normal thing. It just, I hadn't seen it in so long that I was like, oh, yeah, that's an option. I think the notion of quantity could be applied to a lot of things here though, not necessarily just food. I'm just noticing that the first things that I can think of come from food examples. But America, I know it's a land of excess, but just once you go away from it for a long time and you come back to it, it is really overwhelming. And I still am dealing with it. I mean, it's just amazing how quickly you can get used to it, but at the same time, it is still really overwhelming. My next example, of course, falls in the category of customer service. Now, if you have watched my previous videos, especially the one where I talk about bad things in Oslo, I talk about how customer service is not a notion in Norway, which is why when I went into a Forever 21, I was really confused when a sales associate came up to me asking me if I needed any help or if I was looking for anything in particular. Instead of my first reaction being, oh wow, that's a sales associate, they're just doing their job, my reaction was, what was I doing in the store that made her come over to me and talk to me? Now that is a really fucked up thing to think. I mean, you should assume that a sales associate is there to do their job and not that you are doing something wrong that has brought an attention to you for them to come over and talk to you. So that just shows you how much Norway has reversed my thought process when it comes to receiving customer service. And not just customer service, but good customer service. And the sad thing is when I told this story to my mom and the lady who was cutting my hair, they looked at me like I was a foreign alien, as if the notion that someone could not understand customer service was just so out there that they couldn't even fathom why I would think it was my fault that I did something wrong in that situation. So I am just left in this kind of limbo of a place with no customer service and then a place with great customer service, and I'm just confused at both situations, and I don't really know where I'm supposed to fall. So those are just 3 examples of reverse culture shock that I've experienced in the last week and a half. I'm sure I've experienced more, I just can't think of any other ones that come to mind. If you have had any encounters with reverse culture shock, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I am always interested in what other people observe, not only about other cultures, but about their own cultures, because it's hard to see that when you're ingrained in it, and then when you go away and then come back, you always realize how weird your own culture is. So I find that really fascinating. So that is it for this video. Like I said, let me know if you have any examples of reverse culture shock. I would really love to hear them. I'm always interested in learning more. And yeah, I'm going to be in the United States until Monday, and then I fly back to Norway. So I'm going to try to come up with some tea talk between now and then. I will talk to you guys next week. Hope you all are doing well, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye!